Well, I just wanted to touch on a couple of issues. We have a lot of supporters here, so a lot of you know this, but again, we're recording this and there's a lot of people who couldn't make it who are SEIU supporters who asked me to send them a video. So I'm going to highlight a couple of the issues of why we feel ADA is a better choice than SEIU. I'm actually in a second going to ask Gordon Hill to talk a little bit about where he came from. He was initially an SEIU supporter and then has come to become more of a guild supporter. So he's going to kind of talk about his process and how he got there. The main issues that I noticed, first of all, before we even started or knew anything about the guild, I had heard from a lot of people who were dissatisfied with SEIU's representation. And I'm sure in any union, there's a group of people who are dissatisfied. But it seemed to me that there were efforts to decertify SEIU, or at least grassroots efforts that never came to fruition. And that signaled to me that there may be some issues. Moreover, the agencies that are represented by SEIU have significantly worse contracts than we do. They get paid less, their benefits are worse in general. And so that also signaled to me that if they have a bargaining unit that is supposed to be bargaining on their behalf and giving them good stuff, that they're not doing a very good job. So that's where I started from, but sure.
Can you kind of fade in and out? I hear you a little bit and then all of a sudden I don't hear you. Could you repeat what you just said?
I just listed a few of the reasons that I was dissatisfied initially with what I'd heard about SEIU, which was the difference in the fact that the only unrepresented agency seemed to have better benefits and better pay than the represented agencies, and that I'd heard from a lot of different people about dissatisfaction with SEIU. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Sure. So that got me kind of started on having an open mind about the guild, but I was kind of on both sides. I understood people who wanted to come together and all have one voice. I really understood that. But ultimately, I think I came out on the side of the guild because ACA did seem a little bit excluded from the SEIU process, and because of what I've heard from people about SEIU's prior representation. And I wrote in one of my emails, I think, that I'm so glad that I did, because SEIU made a lot of big promises, and I don't feel that they followed through with those promises, and so I feel like the decision to follow through with the guild was the right decision without a lot of information. At the time, we just didn't know a lot, so it was tough to kind of decide guild or SEIU, guild or SEIU. Some of the things that I've had some problems with specifically, they had 13 negotiators, 3 of which were from ACA. The negotiators were elected not by a majority of ACA, but were only elected via the card signers, which I believe was maybe between 17 and 20 people at ACA. There was, from the beginning, and I don't fault the negotiators, I think they all worked really hard and did the best they could, but there was a real lack of communication and a lack of understanding of what was going on. Moreover, what I gathered was they weren't getting a lot of support from SEIU. They were asking for help and consults with attorneys. They were getting a little bit stonewalled. While they were getting some help, they were getting a little stonewalled and weren't getting the support that they needed. They were spending long hours with little labor experience trying to negotiate what is a pretty intense and serious contract that affects not only everybody, but also affects our clients and the future of public defense. Then I went to an SEIU meeting that was laying out a bridge agreement. And the contract itself, again, I don't put the blame on the negotiators because they were given a very quick timeline. They were doing the best they could with the limited resources that they had. But the contract didn't address caseload standards, it didn't address structure, it didn't address parity with the prosecutor's office. My vacation was significantly cut in one of the proposals, in all of the proposals. And I felt like what was happening is the county was setting the agenda, the county was setting the timeline, and SEIU was doing everything to make it easy for the county. They promised to put some political pressure, they promised to fight for their members, And I felt like they were more walking hand in hand with the executive set timeline, with the executive set agenda.